and award a birthday cake and flowers to one lucky person. Cake from Dave's Bakery and flowers from Luna's, both in Flatwoods. And again, the number is 800-551-1057. All hour long, though, we are going to be talking to horror writer Brian Keene, who is in town to do a book signing this evening at Walden Books in the Ashland Town Center for a couple of new books that have just come out. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark.
It's good to have you here, Mr. Former disc jockey, former radio guy.
Indeed.
What was your air name?
Brian Rage.
Rage? I like that.
Didn't play a lot of Alan Jackson with the name like that.
I wouldn't think with Brian Rage you would play a lot of Conway Twitty. I don't think that would come up. Brian Rage. Did you ever use your real name?
Never.
Yeah.
Although, I do think I see some of my old listeners out here in front of the station. the crackhead over there in the fountain, especially.
Did you ever have to deal with the wackos on the telephone? I guess you obviously work on the rock station.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we were talking earlier, we were talking off the air, because Ted and I talk about this all the time. When you're a young guy and you're talking to the girls who call in, and you got to think, who's going to spend 4 hours on a Saturday night talking to a disc jockey? But sometimes, especially when you're young and in our less mature, less responsible days, we would go out and actually meet some of these people.
You'd invite them down to the station.
Yeah, that's right. Some of them would not be the most attractive, but they were nice. And then you would have that one attractive one, and there would be always big trouble that came from that.
Yeah, she's the one that would always leave dead animals on the hood of your car. And
that's right, which probably was good training for what you're doing now.
Exactly.
Right? Dealing with all these wackos. Brian is a writer who's got several books out. I guess your big splash, although nobody's an overnight success, but most people probably heard of you first with a book called The Rising.
Right.
Which was out, 2 years ago now?
Yeah, it came out 2 years ago. It was actually my fourth book, but like you said, it's
your first mass market, your first one that actually would get into Walmarts and stuff. And this was a book about zombies. And it was a very cool book. It garnered a lot of attention, and it's going to, I guess, be made into a movie, right?
Movie and video game.
So we'll get into talking about that here in just a little bit. You have a couple of books that were just released right at the end of the May, beginning of June, that are out now. City of the Dead.
That's right.
And Terminal.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both opposites, I guess, because City of the Dead is a sequel to The Rising. More zombies.
More zombies, more mayhem, more violence and carnage and sex per page.
And very good. And Terminal, the exact opposite. Terminal, well, you go ahead and describe it.
Terminal is a big departure. It's not a horror novel per se. It's more of a suspense thriller. Young guy loses his job, can't afford to feed his family, gets diagnosed with terminal cancer, has a month to live, decides to rob a bank.
And things don't really work out very well.
No, they don't.
No, and we're going to talk about both of these books a little bit more in depth, and we'll talk about Brian's career and a lot of other things coming up here on The Breakfast Club. We'll take a quick break and be right back with writer Brian Keene here on 105.7 WLGC.
Rise and shine with The Breakfast Club.
Come and listen to mostly sunny this morning, partly cloudy this afternoon. There's a chance of showers and thunderstorms. High of 90. Right now we've got 82 degrees. Is it hot back home, Brian?
It's hot.
Are you in Pennsylvania?
Mm-hmm. Central Pennsylvania.
Now, Brian Keene is the horror writer we're going to be talking to all hour, and you are going to also be at Walden Books in the Town Center signing books.
That's correct.
What, have you ever been asked to sign like a body part, like rock stars do?
I've signed many body parts.
Have you really?
And then the wonderful invention of the internet has gotten me in trouble afterward.
Because the photos of your signed body part would end up...
oh, yes.
Yeah. And it wasn't perhaps a body part your wife liked to see you sign?
Not really. And
Right.
Google is not my friend.
You can Google. What is that like? Do you ever Google yourself just to see all the wild stuff? I mean, because you're all over the place.
Occasionally, and it's bizarre. It can really go to your head if you don't watch.
Talking to you, I guess the first time I ever talked to you was at the Horror Find convention a couple of years ago, and I didn't know what to expect after reading about you on the internet. And then there's all in the horror field. There's all these message boards where people congregate and offer their opinions. And I expected some big angry guy or something. I don't really know what.
I don't know why you would have gotten that impression.
So you sort of built your reputation, I guess, in the early days on the internet, right?
Yeah. I mean, when I started out, the internet was just becoming a big thing.
Right.
Every household was getting it, and used it to my advantage.
Speaking of starting out, there's a lot of people who think they want to be writers. Maybe some of them will eventually end up being writers, but how did you start out? What was the road to your success like?
Oh, I Never thought in a million years I'd be doing this for a
Now,
living.
I heard a story. Did you actually flunk English?
I flunked 11th grade English. I ended up going to summer school.
Man, that is so inspirational.
You know,
I mean, that's a tragic story for you, but for everybody else out there, that is so inspirational.
I'd get detention for reading Stephen King novels during class, and they said, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" I said, "I want to be a writer." Oh, well, that's not for you.
Right.
So, I did a stint in the Navy. I got out. I worked in a foundry. I worked in radio. Basically any horrible job you can imagine, I worked in.
And you also worked, and anybody who's ever worked in radio will know the dreaded name. You worked for Arbitron.
Oh, yes.
Well, too, the ratings company.
Oh, yes.
Any tips that you can give me so we can get more than 9 listeners? Because that's really all we
horror,
have.
Man.
Is that what it is? Talk about
yeah.
horror writers. That'll shoot the audience right up. and so at some point, when did you decide? I mean, how long ago was it that you decided, hey, I'm really going to give a serious effort, a serious shot at this writing thing?
Well, I wrote through all those experiences, but I guess it was around 1997 that I said to myself, I can't stand what I'm doing for a living. I really want to make this writing thing work, and that's when I really got serious about it.
And you would start, would you start like a lot of people do with short stories, or did you start right out with a novel?
Started out with short stories, built my reputation up on those, and then tackled the novel.
And you also, I know you had a reputation. You would go to a lot of conventions and do wild, outlandish things.
So they say.
I mean, was it intentionally outlandish? Was this an effort you went out there and said, I want people to remember who Brian Keene is? I'm going to do something. And
it was.
And what was the wildest thing that you did in that phase of your career that you can talk about on the radio?
There was a lot of signing of body parts. As we
this is where the signing. Okay, we get back to the body parts. That's fine.
A lot of things that make Fear Factor seem tame by comparison. Eating live earthworms on stage.
Oh, please!
Fresh from the bait shop.
Oh, and how was that? Did it taste like chicken?
Just like chicken.
Really? Did you have any sauce, anything to dip it in, or was it just straight? Straight worms?
Straight worms.
Wow. So then the Rising hit, and the rest is history. The Rising has recently it went out of print, right? Very hard to get. I mean, because I know that people were trying to get it on eBay, and they would have to pay huge. I'm not talking about the hardcover, the paperback edition.
Paperback originally cost $6.99, and when it sold out, went out of print, people were paying $20, $40.
Now, what is that like for you? What is that like when you see something like that? And I know that you have these limited edition hardcover books that you've done. They sell for hundreds of dollars. Is that an ego boost, or is that oh man, what have I done? Do you have? You don't seem like a guy who's got a lot of insecurities. I would think, I'm in trouble. I'll never be able to write another book that somebody's going to want to pay $500 for.
Truthfully, it makes me wish that I had held on to more copies of my own books. I'd popped them right up there. No, it is an incredibly gratifying ego boost, and it's a little daunting as well.
Yeah, I bet it is. Well, we want to talk about the new books. We want to talk about the movies that are coming up, and all that. And of course, again, the signing will be at Walden Books in Ashland Town Center from 5 until 9. If someone is a collector of your works, and I don't know how the tri-state area, how much of a hotbed of horror it is, but if they bring other books that they have previously purchased, do you sign those too?
I'll sign anything they put in front of me.
Including body parts, or is there a moratorium on that?
Is there a camera involved?
I don't know. Probably not. No one will
find
know.
out.
Okay. All right, that'll be at Walden Books later on this evening. We'll be back to talk to Brian Keene in just a few minutes. And we got the birthdays coming up. You can still call and get on that list at 1-800-551-1057. For the birthday club, we'll do it at 9:30 right here on 105.7 WLGC.
It's the Breakfast Club with Mark and Ted.
105.7 WLGC.
The weather is brought to you by Southern Ohio Medical Center. The SOMC Cancer Center is now open on Kinney's Lane and offers comprehensive cancer care. Southern Ohio Medical Center. Very good things are happening here.
WLGC weather.
Mostly sunny this morning, partly cloudy, slight chance of rain this afternoon, high of 90. Overnight, mostly cloudy, chance of showers and thunderstorms. It'll be 65. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, chance of rain, high of 80. 82 now.
105.7 WLGC.
And we're back with Brian Keene, the horror author whose latest books are City of the Dead and Terminal. How'd you swing to have two books out at the same time? Is that counter programming? Is that industry approved? Do they like that kind of thing?
It's not, and they didn't like it, and that's why I'm out on tour for the next 4 months to make sure they both sell.
So they're from different companies.
They're from different companies. They were written over a span of 6 months, basically an 80-hour work week. Work on one book during the day and the other.
So if everybody thinks that you are sitting in your silk robe sipping martinis and dictating to some secretary. They perhaps have a different picture.
They are sadly mistaken.
When you're not doing this, when you're not on the road, what is your life like?
I get up around 5 in the morning, and I write until around 1 in the afternoon. And then I take my lunch break and watch Days of Our Lives.
Okay.
I'm sorry, was that live?
Days of Our Lives has never been as good as when Marlene was possessed by Satan.
Oh, that was
and she
great
was
stuff.
floating above her bed.
That was great stuff.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
And then, I start again until from 2 in the afternoon until usually around 8 o'clock at night.
Do you ever get stuck? Do you ever go, oh, man, I don't know what's going to happen next? Or, oh, man, I would rather be playing a video game? Or, I mean, is it just, how do you keep yourself motivated?
The paycheck.
The paycheck?
The
paying
paycheck.
bills.
No, it's, I've always loved to tell stories, and it's fun. I mean, it's incredibly fun to find out what's going to happen next.
And so that in itself is enough of incentive to keep typing away at the keyboard.
Exactly.
Okay, so you wrote these 2 books. They're out from different companies. Terminal is out from Bantam, which is one of the biggies. How did you hook up with them? Did you go to them? Did they come to you? How did that happen?
They came to me. I was at a function in New York City, and one of their editors approached me, and we had lunch, and they didn't really want to do the horror stuff that I'm more well known for, and I said, well, I've got this thriller I've been working on, and they liked it and bought it.
Wow, that is great. And that is Terminal. That is the bank robbery and the guy who has terminal cancer.
Right.
One of the books that is out now. And it came out at the same time as City of the Dead, which is the sequel to your previous novel, The Rising, about the zombies. Now, The Rising has been sold to the movies, right? Has the sequel been sold?
The sequel has been sold as well. Movie, video game, comic book.
Yeah, you're writing the comic book version,
action
right?
figures,
Action figures? Will there be action figures?
Oh, there will be action figures.
Oh, that's what I'd like to see. Okay, let's talk about. Let's take this in pieces. The movie first. What is going on with that? Anything known about it? When it goes into production?
I've signed a non-disclosure agreement, so I can't say much. What I can say is that the screenplay is very faithful to the book. It kept all the gore and violence, all the stuff that I thought Hollywood would cut out.
Right.
They kept.
Well, now I got to peck around the edges here to see what I can find that you can tell me. Have any actors been involved in this yet?
No comment.
No comment. Okay. All right. And of course you can't talk about things like when. Can you at least say when they hope to maybe have it in? Is that a secret about when they might want to have it in the theaters?
I would say look for some big news in early 2006.
2006. Okay, we're liking the sound of that. Now, in the Alfred Hitchcock, Stephen King vein, will there be a walk-on cameo by the author?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, that's good.
I've already been promised that.
Really?
I'll be zombie number 12. You'll see me on
So you
screen
will
for
be a
about
zombie.
3.2 seconds.
Yeah, well, zombies, you hit with the Rising, now City of the Dead at just the right time because we are in the midst of a zombie renaissance.
Oh, yeah. 28 Days Later, the Dawn of the Dead remake, and later this month, George Romero himself with Land of the Dead.
The guy who really started the whole zombie thing. And is this something that you saw coming, or are you just fortunate to be surfing that wave?
I think I'm incredibly lucky. I mean, I did think zombies were going to make a comeback. The big thing for a while was vampires, but, let's be honest, vampires are lame.
Yeah. yeah. I mean, we're all very, very tired of vampires, and our apologies to any Anne Rice fans out there. And Anne Rice has actually been on this show before. She was very nice, but we're just sort of tired of that whole thing.
Right.
But zombies are the new, I guess, cutting-edge horror favorites. And you are now, is City of the Dead, is that it? Are you done with zombies?
For now. I'm not going to say never again,
right?
Because, look, my fans enjoy the zombies. I enjoy the zombies,
right.
But for right now, I'm done.
So you've got City of the Dead out. Terminal is out at the same time. Movie interest in that as well?
There has been some movie interest in Terminal. Nothing concrete yet, though.
So once you do that first movie deal, is that like when you... The first time you ever apply for credit and actually get it, suddenly you're interesting to all of these other people now?
Suddenly everybody comes calling.
That must be a sweet position. I mean, you've been out there, you've worked hard, and you've paid your dues, and I would expect the early years, I don't know this, were probably kind of lean.
They were.
Trying to get this thing together. Were you working a regular job while you were writing?
Yeah, I would, did stuff in the studio, I guess the last job I had, I was working for FedEx, working on the docks, loading trucks in the morning, and then going home and writing at night.
Wow. Well, the true dedication there. So now you're in this position, and we certainly hope that you are do you like where you are now?
Oh, I love where I am now.
Now, are there any downsides? Because you are in at least the subgenre of fiction known as horror. You are a pretty big deal right now.
Yeah, but there's a price to pay with that. I guess the big thing is probably time spent with family and friends.
Right.
My wife is home all day. She works from home. I work from home, yet I probably only see her in the evening.
Really?
And of course when I'm out on the road like this.
So she can't break for Days of Our Lives?
No, she won't break for Days of Our Lives.
No, that's not right.
She's more General Hospital, I think.
Well, I understand. I'm married to all my children. Woman, so I understand.
My condolences.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. So, and then of course you're out on the road, and you want to promote these books. You mentioned that's why you're on the road, because you got these two books out at the same time from two different publishers, and were they a little upset when they realized that this was going to be simultaneous?
No, maybe with another author, they may have been more concerned, but honestly, I have no problem getting out there, hitting the road, and selling the books.
I was going to say, because I love books. I always have. We've had hundreds of authors be on the radio show, and you see, and I will receive their schedules of where they're going on tour and all this stuff, and it's like, well, I'm going to make 10 appearances over 4 months or something like that. You apparently now are the hardest working man in publishing, because how many stops on this current tour are you making?
Oh, geez. We don't even have them all up on the website yet. I think probably 40 or 50 over the next 4 months.
Yeah, and you're doing this on the road. I mean, this is road trip. You're not in your private jet.
No, this
Jumping from one location.
This is a lot of driving, a lot of hole-in-the-wall bars at night, living out of a suitcase and seeing a lot of bookstores along the way.
Well, one of those bookstores will be Walden Books in the town center. You're going to start at 5 o'clock tonight, and you're going till they close at 9 o'clock.
That's right.
And so you want everybody to come out. Would City of the Dead or Terminal make a nice Father's Day
They'd make
gift?
a wonderful Father's Day present. They're both about fathers.
Well, there you go. And you can get them autographed. And, if you've always wanted to meet a real-life, in-the-flesh writer, this would be the guy to do it. Because I would think that you would be pretty entertaining at these book signings.
Yeah, I try to be.
And that you would be, you're not going to be the kind of guy who's going to not look up from the book as he's signing it. I mean, we've been to book signings like that before, where the author acts like it's a real burden.
Yeah, and you want to make them eat the book.
Exactly right. So Brian will be at Walden Books tonight. We'll be back with him here in just a few minutes here on the Tuesday Breakfast Club.
Rise and shine with the Breakfast Club.
The best country, 105.7 WLGC with the great George Strait. Here on the Tuesday Morning Breakfast Club, it's 13 away from 10. Starts out sunny today. Looks pretty good now. Still humid, though. High around 90. Maybe some showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. And right now we've got 83 degrees. Horror writer Brian Keene is in the studio with us. Out on this massive book tour. How long have you been going at it? The month of June?
This is week 2, and it wraps up. I take a little break in July and then back on the road until end of October.
Do you actually do writing while you're on the road? Do you sit everything in your hotel
Try
room?
to.
Yeah.
It's hard, but I try to write every day.
I would think so. All those groupies banging on your hotel room door, messing up your concentration.
Yeah, it's tough. Tough job.
Now, you'll be at Walden Books this evening from 5 until 9, and Big Joe is your bodyguard and your traveling companion, close personal friend. I don't know if
Good
it's
guy.
your special companion. I don't know what the relationship is, but does he always go out on the road with you?
He always goes out on the road with me, actually by my wife's request.
And is that to keep you safe or to keep you out of trouble or both?
Keep me out of trouble, pretty much, yeah.
He told me a story before we went on there that he actually saved your writing career. Is that a true story?
It sounds like made-up fiction to me. I don't know.
Maybe he's the writer. Is that a true story, Joe? No. Oh, well.
He's looking at the microphone like it's a dead hand. Look, he's running out of the studio. Look at that.
What is the now? Have you ever at these book signings or at conventions? Because I know you go to a lot of conventions. Have you ever had? Because I know that when you hear interviews with Stephen King, he's talking about the nutty whack job fans who sometime approach him or break into his house or whatever. Have you had similar?
They
stories?
exist. He did not make that up.
What has happened to you that you can maybe talk about?
I've had people accuse me of psychically stealing their story ideas.
Oh, God.
I've had people say that, Stephen King and myself and Dean Koontz and Richard Lehman are all the same person and they're going to prove it. I've had people send me dead animals in the mail.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, it's great.
Have people searched you out and come to your house?
We've had that happen once, and since then we've become a lot more private. They were gracious about it. They were nice, but they just wanted their book signed, signed, and then they left. But still a little freaky.
And do you pack firearms now?
I do.
Well, that's probably a very good thing. A very good thing. Oh, you'll be at Walden tonight from 5 until 9, signing the two new books, City of the Dead and Terminal. And do you feel like, The Rising, you really made your mark. City of the Dead. I've read both of these books, and each of them are just, they're both a leap ahead. And The Rising was a good book. I read that. I ripped through that thing and thought, man, this is the freshest thing that I've read, and I love horror fiction in a long time, but it's like a different guy wrote these other two books. Do you feel that? When you wrote it, do you feel like, man, I'm stretching new muscles? I'm a better writer than I was a year ago, or whatever length of time?
Definitely, and I don't think that ever stops. I think you can write 30 books and still grow as a writer.
Well, I've seen the list of some of your upcoming books, and I think 30 books in like the next year is what you have coming out. You got a lot of stuff on.
A lot of work to do.
Oh yeah. When will we see the next thing? And I don't want to get too far off the fact that you got these two that just came out. But when will we see something else from you?
The next big release will be next summer again. That'll be a book still untitled from Leisure Books.
Huh? Still untitled.
Still untitled, and that'll be followed.
The Breakfast Club would be with Mark and Ted would be a good time. I'm just throwing something out there. You don't have to use it.
Well, when Ted ran out of the studio, I thought he'd make a great zombie in the film.
Ted would, yeah, because that would, sometimes you should be here like at 3:30 when we both arrive at the radio station. You would get great zombie inspiration. This is not a zombie book, though?
No, it's not a zombie book. It's another post-apocalyptic book. But,
we can't have enough of those.
Actually, it takes place in this area and over like in Beckley, West Virginia, Lewisburg, West Virginia.
So can you write some of this off as research?
This whole thing is getting claimed to my taxes.
I like that. I like the sound of that. How about all the books that you buy? Is all that research?
Oh, yeah. Comic books, movie tickets.
I see what my next career is going to be. That's what I have to do. So you got to deduct all this stuff. If somebody wants more information, you've got a website. You got a great website.
I do. BrianKeene.com, BrianKeene.com. Click email Brian, I'll answer you back.
You're a very accessible guy.
Yeah.
And do you think that has been a part of what has made you popular? People see your books and then they can actually, in some way, shape, or form, make contact with you. Do you think that has helped?
I don't think it's hurt.
You're a man of the people.
I don't think it's hurt. But I have no illusions. This whole thing could be over tomorrow, and I could be back working in a factory again.
You'll be back on the FedEx dock.
Yeah, I like to stay grounded.
If that happens, you can work weekends, man. We'll get it. We'll open up something.
Great.
We can squeeze you in here in the morning show.
That'll work.
That'll be good. But you also, in addition to being able to email, you've got a message board. Mm-hmm. If everyone knows what that is, where people can post questions and talk about your books, and you do get on there and reply.
Oh yeah.
You also have become quite infamous for, I guess in the newspaper business they would call them editorials. I guess you call them rants.
Yeah.
That you have on your website.
Yeah.
Very popular.
And politics and religion and anything else that crosses my mind.
I checked that out, and on occasion, I know that you were leaving Illinois. That's where you were signing last, right?
Right.
And you were heading into the Bible Belt.
Right.
So how's the Bible Belt worked out so far?
Well, so far, I don't know that we're in the Bible Belt. I think maybe we're like
we're trying to debate
the belly button above the belt buckle of the Bible Belt.
Good point. That very well may be the case. And we urge you to go out tonight. I'm going to be down there at least from 5 until 6 to try to let people know who maybe aren't listening to the radio this early what's going on, because this is a great opportunity to pick up some great books. I think everyone will love if you love horror, you're going to love both of them. But Terminal is more of it's a blue-collar sort of crime novel.
Yeah, if they like Elmore Leonard or James Patterson, something like that.
And there are more dogs in Terminal than in the American Kennel Club. More use of dogs. If you want to know who let the dogs out, it was Brian Keene. He let the dogs out. You got a bunch of homeboys and blue-collar guys, and that's, if you like the work of guys like, and I've compared it to Dennis Lehane and people like that, those are.
I'll take that.
That's the kind of book this is. Very well.
Well, I patterned it after you and Ted, so I hope some of that came through.
Well, the part where they're drinking a lot of beer, that definitely, I can see where the influence came. Brian, I appreciate you. First of all, coming to town and then hanging out for so long at the radio.
Thanks for having me, and thanks to the folks here in Ashland for having me too.
And I hope that a lot of them turn out to see you when we get to Walden Books tonight.
I hope so too.
Okay, that'll be from 5 until 9. Horror author Brian Keene, BrianKeene.com, the website. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. The Breakfast Club presents another exciting escapade of Ashland's Cape.